Reputational damage, property loss of intellectual property, less of an issue again with public safety, more of an issue with private vendors, and multi-part attacks. As we'll see, the first ransomware can be only the first attack. But wait, there's more. Now how much would you pay? Downtime is expensive. Recovery time took between 1 and 6 months. Note that it was $2.6 million in downtime if the ransomware was paid and you got your data back, 1.6 million if backups were used to restore your data. So not paying actually is cheaper in the long run, because if you pay, you still need to do all the hardening. You still need to check the data. Data is lost even when ransom is paid. 65% of the data was restored if you paid the ransom, but only 8% of organizations managed to recover all their data. So that's a really small proportion of people who get it all back. And you get hit again a second time. 80% of those who paid got hit with a second ransomware attack. Because, hey, if I know you're going to pay, I'm going to try again. 40% paid again. 68% got hit a second time within a month and for a higher ransom. There was a report a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, they haven't redone the report. The report came out right as COVID hit. And they haven't redone the report that said that government got hit a second time 100% of the time. Government is just known to be everybody's favorite sucker. So paying doesn't protect you very much. And then the time spent on remediation. I love this statistic. 40% of victims who suffered ransomware attacks had to devote 8 or more hours to remediate. If it was only 8 hours to remediate, I would be thrilled. It's not 8 hours. It's a lot longer than that. As we said, it's usually between 1 and 6 months. Ransomware breaches took 49 days longer than average breaches to identify and contain. So ransomware is particularly vicious. Disaster recovery experts say that the typical productivity loss is 8 to 20% during an outage. 20% means basically your employees are working full time, but they're only producing 4 days a week. And in Q2, the average days of downtime was measured at 24 days, a decrease of 8% from Q1, which is, nice, but still 24 days. And as we'll talk about later, this is due to the higher prevalence of attacks that only involve data exfiltration. They're not even trying to ransom you anymore. They're just trying to take your stuff. And if you pay the ransom, did you make all of your communities, vendors, suppliers, peers, supply chains, etc. targets? First, they find out about that in the attack. But also, we saw this a couple of years ago in Florida. One county's emergency services got hit, and they paid the ransom. Within a month, the county next to them got hit. Because once they know that you're willing to pay the ransom, they'll redouble their efforts to get you. Because they're only after the money. There are no bragging rights in this. In some areas of hacking, there are simply bragging rights. That's when we say that John does competitive hacking. That's what he's doing. It's for bragging rights. To say, yes, I'm the best. This isn't for bragging rights. This is for the money. So once you pay, you make everybody more vulnerable. In addition to paying the ransom, organizations that paid ransom during a ransomware attack achieved only a 2.2% difference in total cost, $5.06 million compared with $5.17 million. Now look, $110 million, $110,000 is a lot of money, but on this scale, it's just not. So how do you get the data? You'll see that the dark blue line says it paid the ransom and got the data back. The light blue line is they used backups to restore the data. The important thing to notice about this is twofold. First, public sector tends to pay less. Local and state government pays less often. That's good. But you'll note that the totals on these two numbers add up to more than 100%. Because even if you get the data back, you probably don't get all of it back, which means you still are restoring from backups. So whether you pay it or not, how good are your backups? That becomes the important question. And the cost of recovery are significant. It's just one element. Across all sectors, excluding any ransoms paid. One thing you'll note, by the way, that I do want to point out is that you'll see different numbers coming from different sources. Part of that is around the idea of people, and I don't want to be this blunt, but there's no other way to phrase it, lying in polls. Polls are often, people want to cover themselves. They don't want to admit to things about which they're embarrassed. And for better or worse, we are embarrassed that we got hit by ransomware. So this is one set. This is from Sophos. Cross-sector average was 1.85 million in 2021, 1.4 in 2022, and then back up in 2023. State and local government has gone down overall and is less than the cross-sector average. State and local government tends to be better about this. But this, coming from 2022, said that 4% that paid the ransom got all of their data back. Not some of their data. A lot of people get some, but very few get all. 4% is just terrible odds. 1 in 25. We can do better than that with just backups, etc. So, cyber attacks cause multiple hospitals to shut emergency rooms and divert ambulances. Prospect Medical Holdings of Los Angeles, which has hospitals and clinics in Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Texas. And the problem is that I just get to speak from experience. My wife is an emergency room doctor. If one ER gets shut down, the other ERs within range of it are underwater. There's just no way they can keep up because they're all running at pretty close to capacity. You shut down one ER and the ambulances have to go to the other ones, and they're already at capacity. They don't have the capacity to bring in more. And I wanted to point one thing out. This was not, in fact, a ransomware attack, but it was $6 million in a phishing attack. And ransomware's best mode of getting in is a phishing attack. The image of people like John sitting in their hoodie in their basement and attacking that we all have of hackers is not the real danger. It's phishing attacks. And it was a $6 million attack before anyone noticed.